All right, guys, today we are going to talk about borders, corners, and shadows. So first we're going to go over how to set a border width. So there are many possible ways to set border width. First, you just type the property, border width, and then you're going to declare the width of the border in whatever measurement you want. Oh my gosh, I don't know why it's doing that. There's lots of different ways to do this. So here's just a few different measurements. I'm just going to use picks in this presentation. You can also, to make it easy, you can just type thin, medium, or thick. So down here you can see this is my border width. So I've got 4 different values in here. And you can see that the first one is applied to the top, the second one is applied to the right, the third one's applied to the bottom, and the fourth one is applied to the left. So you can specify a different measurement for each side if you want to. If you want them all the same, you can just do border width and then put one measurement, and they will all be the same that way. So I'll take that out so you can see. It is 12 all the way around. Okay, so we're going to talk about border radius next, and this is the shorthand for border radius. So to set border radius, you're going to type the property border hyphen radius, and you can have anywhere from 0 to 4 different values in your border radius property. When you have 4, the first one's going to be applied to the top left, the second one's going to be applied to the top right, and then the third one's going to be the bottom right, the fourth one's going to be bottom left. And as you can see, this corresponds to my code that I have. If you set 2 values for the border radius property, the first one is going to be diagonal starting from the first corner, like that. And then the second one is going to be diagonal from the second corner. If you just use one, it's going to be the same measurement all around. This one's very common because it just has a consistent look. You can also set 3 different values, and when you have 3, the first value is going to be set to the first top left corner, the second value is going to be diagonal from the second corner, and the third one is going to be in the bottom right. Okay, so each property for border corners, you can type them all separately if you would like to, and that way you can specify a specific measurement per corner. And you can see here, it's just you type border, and then next you can either type top or bottom, and then after that you either type left or right. So first top, bottom, second either left, right, and then you just type hyphen radius. And that way it's very specific to which corner you're talking about, and you can set the specific measurement for how rounded you want it to be. So there is that. There are also many different styles that you can use for your borders. And how you set your border style is you type the property border hyphen style, and we'll just go over a few of these. Whoa. Okay, so this is solid. This one's pretty common. It's pretty consistent, and it's just a solid border all the way around at 12 pixels. We'll go down to groove, and this one kind of looks like a picture frame almost. And you can kind of just play around with all of these different styles in your CSS for fun. But the outset, this one, whoop. Oh boy. Okay. So, okay, let's go down to outset. Here we go. So this one kind of makes it look like it's popping out of the screen. And I'm just going to show you, you can also change your style for every side if you want. If you want a different style for each side, go for it. This is what it can look like. So it's going to start with the top, and then the right, and then the bottom, and then the left. And you can see it's all different on each side. But I am going to leave the outset on for the rest of the presentation. All right, you can also set a border color. This part's the fun part. You can add color to your borders. So to add color to your borders, you're going to use the property border-color. And there's 3 different values you can use for this property. So you can either just type out the color that you want, but when you do it this way, it has to be a very simple color. It has to be a color that your computer already has in its memory. And so right here, you just have like blue, but you can use probably any color from the rainbow, or black, or brown, or gray, or like any of those colors. If you want more of a specific color, then you can use a hex value, and you just type pound, and then whatever your hex value's number is. FFF is white. So some colors just have just letters, but usually it's going to be letters jumbled with numbers, but you can find it off of a color picker online, or a color scheme picker, or Photoshop has a color picker, and so you can pick it that way as well. And the third way you can use a value for the border color is RGB value. So the first one is the red, second one's green, third one's blue. So you're just going to type RGB, parentheses, and then 3 different numbers in your parentheses. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how this works. So if you just type a color, if it's in your computer, you're going to do border-color and then type the color. And my computer has teal in there, so it found that pretty easily. And the next one is a hex value, so you're just going to type border color. Oh, whoops. Border color, and then you're going to do pound, and then your hex value. And so you can see that mine is a green color. I just took that off of Photoshop with the color picker. That's usually where I get most of my colors. I've got lots of fun colors on there. Okay, so this is the RGB value. This one works just as well as all the others. I just think it's more work because you have to find the red value, or the red color, the green color, and the blue color, and put all those in. The easiest one for me is just the hex value, but it works just as well. And you can see that I have a very specific color in there. All right. So, and you can use a shorthand border property by just typing border followed by the measurement. So you do the width first, and then the style, and then the color. So you can see here, and usually this is consistent throughout the whole border. So first you do the width, and then style and color, and it just makes it all even like that. And then you can also do each side individually. So like right here, we're going to do the border left and the border right. So if you want to do it individually, you just type border hyphen top, bottom, left, or right, and it will style to that specific side. Okay, so shadows. This is the fun part. So there are 2 different shadow properties. The first is the box shadow, and that one is going to be putting a shadow under a full element. So right here, I'll just show that this box shadow is going to be applied to this div, and first you got to specify the horizontal shadow and then the vertical shadow. So you're specifying the offset of your shadow. So right here, you can see I have 10 and then 20. And next, you're going to specify the blur. So you're going to have your horizontal, your vertical, and then your blur. So before, up here, it was a very harsh shadow. Now it's very blurred and softened. Kind of makes it look more realistic. And then after you have that, you can add your color. So down here, I have 20 picks for my horizontal, 20 picks for my vertical, 10 picks for my blur, and then I put color pink. So that is the shorthand for all of that. You do vertical or horizontal, vertical, blur, and color. Okay, text shadows. These are fun to do as well, but you have to be careful when you use them because you don't want to use them all the time. They can make it hard to read sometimes, your text. So the best time to use it is when you have text on top of a busy background and it's making it hard to read. So in order to add contrast, you put a text shadow on your text. It makes it easier to read against the background. So first you're going to specify the vertical shadow and then the horizontal shadow. And we're going to be applying this to my H1, which is up here. So let's see how that, oh, you set the property by typing text hyphen shadow. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, pretty ugly. It's very messy, but that's just because it's taking the same color. But you can see that it has offset at 4 pixels and 6 pixels. All right, now we can add a blur, which is going to be the third value. So we've got 4 picks, 3 picks, and then the blur is 2 picks. And then you can add your color. And this will make it much easier to read because you want your shadow to be a different color than your text just to have that contrast. But that's what that looks like. I've got the 4 picks, the 3 picks for my offset, and then 2 picks for my blur, and then my hex value for my color. All right, you can also use multiple text shadows for the same text, and this is pretty cool. So you can do the property text shadow, and then you're just going to add your first shadow. So you do your vertical, horizontal, your blur, and your color, and then you're going to do another one. If you want to do 3, you can do, so your second one, you do your vertical, horizontal, blur, color, vertical, horizontal, blur, color. So let's see what this looks like. All right, so you can see that I have this gray shadow on the very bottom, and then I have a green shadow, and if you look really closely, I have I wonder if I can zoom in. All right, you can see that I have a black shadow under there as well. So I've got black, green, and gray. So I've got 3 in there. But yeah, that's it. We just talked about borders, colors, and shadows. Hopefully you guys learned something from this, but I think it's really fun to mess with the borders and the box shadows. So I hope you guys have fun playing with that as well.